Today, my guest is Lisa Pitel-Killah. And I'm so glad to have known Lisa. It's been about 3 years when I was able to find out about the mineral balancing supplement, Vykon, that she does and, customize for different people. So I fell in love with those supplements. And today I'm glad to have had some discussion with her in this podcast. Lisa is a hair mineral analysis expert and educator, board-certified holistic health practitioner, functional diagnostic practitioner, and multi-time Kettlebell sports world champion. Her animal studies include holistic carnivore and equine nutritionist and advanced animal hair tissue mineral analysis, HTMA. She chooses to specialize in hair tissue mineral analysis testing when that particular diagnostic test was the first to identify the true root cause of her debilitating fatigue. Lisa believes minerals are the foundations of health and longevity. And from the science of the hair tissue mineral analysis, you can identify exactly what your body or your animal body needs to thrive. She is the founder of Vykon Supplements, a high-end supplement line which includes Vykon Customs, which allows health practitioners to fully customize supplements to their clients based in the hair tissue mineral analysis test. Let's meet Lisa. Hello, welcome everyone to the Gaby Show. So today I have an amazing guest, Lisa Pitel-Killah. So Lisa, welcome to the Gaby Show.
Oh, Gaby, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here today.
Yes, so excited for our discussion today. All right, so we are going to step right up and get started. So my first thing I want to ask you is my lovely special icebreaker question. Every guest gets one of this. So my first question for you is, what is your favorite food?
Oh my goodness, there are so many. And so to share a little bit, so I am dairy intolerant and I am gluten intolerant, but favorite has to be hands down dark chocolate. And it's good for you too.
What do you call it?
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate. I'm like, what food? Oh, dark chocolate.
Definitely one of my favorites for sure.
Yes, dark chocolate. So you do get the dairy-free option, right? Because they have so many now. So you guys, there are options.
Yes, they even have one now, and I'm not sure. I think it is a Canadian company actually, but they make what they call a milk chocolate, but it's with coconut milk. And it is actually fantastic. And again, everything in moderation, but it is one of the things that I get to enjoy.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I get into that, especially this is a thing to kind of throw in some education there. When you are almost starting your period, you start craving sweets and all that stuff. So, the dairy-free option, dark chocolate, is a good one to, instead of indulging in all the unhealthy stuff. Of course, again, like we said, moderation.
Yeah, everything in moderation.
Yes. It's the whole big box or whatever that comes in.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that's one, to help with that sweet tooth because you want something, comforting, during that time. But again, it's all about with hormone balancing too and everything. So yeah. All right, awesome. So the next thing I want to ask you is, what is your favorite quote? You probably have many of them, but there's one
there's so many.
Like,
you know what? Just kind of a good roundabout to my world is it's not about how hard you hit, but how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, right? The Rocky Balboa quote. And I think for me, obviously that relates to boxing, of course, but I think for me, just in life, life is hard sometimes.
Yes.
And sometimes we have good days, some days we have bad days, but we just need to get up and keep going, because those bad days are going to end up being less, and the good days you don't want to miss. And so that's kind of what that quote means to me, for sure.
Oh, that is good. Good. Thank you for explaining it through like that. I mean, of course, it's pretty straightforward, but explaining it more. And I think that's a very good one, because things happen in our life, we don't plan for it, but it's like, okay,
Exactly. Yeah.
are you just gonna accept those hits like that and just not do anything and just like, okay, but we gotta somehow and try to act and do something to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. So as I always tell my guests, I mean my listeners, write this down. Some of these things, and get some good news from this things. Oh, okay. So what I want us to go into, I want you to share with me and what you believe has shaped you to be this woman you are today, from your victories, your struggles, from childhood or profession, career, like all the way as much as you can go into. We got time.
Oh my goodness, we're gonna need days for this one.
Yes, part one, part
Yeah.
two, and part three.
Oh, well, you know what? I mean, everybody has a story, a life story, right? And so I know for myself, I've been an entrepreneur since I was in my early 20s. I'm now 50, just turned 50 last week.
Ooh,
And
congratulations.
so it's been over 30 years. And so, working with people, trying to be a good leader, trying to be a good communicator, and leading a team to wherever that success takes them, as well as myself. And I guess, in a lot of ways that came back around from just my childhood, right? I was always a really good go-getter. I was the youngest of four. And, it's always interesting too, when you see, even with the quote that I shared, when you see people in a certain position, right? We do this all the time. We see people, even if it's like a movie star or a singer or whatever, and you think, oh, my life would be so much easier if this, and then you maybe see a documentary about them and realize that we all go through the same types of struggles. They're just different, right? Nobody has an easy ride. I don't believe that anyways. And so, at a very young age, I lost my sister. So that was really early teenage years. And being an integrative practitioner now, I think back about how much better off I would have been as a teen if I would have had the support I needed from a foundational perspective. And I can't help but think about that now because of mineral balance and some of the things that I practice, right? Because I look back at that time and that stress, and I realized that a lot of those symptoms that were coming up for me, I had thyroid, I was always freezing. I was also a competitive figure skater, so it didn't help. I was on the ice all the time, so that didn't help the fact that I was cold, but I had a thyroid problem. And then, I can only imagine that I was zinc deficient and had magnesium issues and all these other things that I think about now. But a lot of those symptoms, IBS and all these things came up, but it was just from stress, right? Stress that was deeply buried, right? And kind of stayed buried for a while. And I mean, that really kind of shaped my teenage years about what that meant. And you really do have to, and for those of you, I mean, we've all lost people, right? I've lost many people since then, of course. But when we go through that, we really have to take each one in stride, because they're all different. And we have to be able to grieve through that and understand what that means for us and what we take from it, because each person is different, right? And so for me, it was everything I could do to stay busy, to be able to not think about what had transpired, right? Which was not really a great way to do it, but I was 13 years old, right? So really the only way I knew at that point in time how to handle it. And so, I mean, I really got into entrepreneurship at a young age. I really loved leading people. I really loved inspiring people, or trying to inspire people to be better versions of themselves. because I always wanted to be, right? And so that was one of my goals, is if I can get out of bed every day and inspire one person to do something different, or make a decision that would, maybe give them a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel that day, that's what I wanted to do. And so, and then fast forward, I guess 11 years, I was 24 and my brother passed away. So it was just like a roller coaster of life, right? And so what did I do? Open a new business. So, and I mean, that's kind of, and again, to date, it's like, I have to sit back and actually, I feel like in my 40s, that's when I really dug in to what all of this meant, right? And how I avoided kind of dealing with those things. And in order to do that, all I did was make myself more busy, right? And I mean, and I was in a very fast-paced business, always have had been. And then eventually what happened in my late 20s is stress came about, right? And ended up, I was in burnout. And again, just carrying around all of this baggage of trauma, right? That I really didn't, I guess, want to let go or even know how to. And so that really kind of brought me into my next decade in my 30s, and more kind of good experiences along the way. I mean, again, I was still figure skating throughout my 30s. Like I was still super active, always health conscious. And then, kind of went through that first phase of burnout where my body was still recovering because I was young, right? I was in my 30s. That's really young. And then you get to a point where it was like you get to the next level. And I remember when it was 2009. So I was 36, 37 maybe. 2009. I was born in 73. So yeah, 36. And at that point in time, that's when I fully on crashed, because I just been driving myself so hard. And as I worked through some of those more serious traumas, and I had another one along the way, I lost a nephew as well, but I worked through those things, becoming more mentally strong than I was before, right? And so that mental strength didn't equate to what my body was capable of doing anymore, which is why I kept going into burnout, right? Because I was pushing myself mentally so hard, my body just couldn't keep up. And so, at that point, that's when I really thought, okay, I have to fix this, like for real this time. Because now I am, I'm in my late 30s and I'm going through hormonal changes and all these other things were happening. And that's when I really dug into integrative medicine and really went down the road of studying and understanding the body better, what I was actually doing, right? Because a lot of times our head gets in the way and we're like, I can do anything. But eventually the body starts to fail, right? And then learning, of course, just about mineral balance, that's when I really kind of got my health back on track. And that's why I'm so passionate about it today. Because I know what it did for me as a person. And I've seen what it can do for thousands of others of people. And so yeah, I mean, that's kind of a little bit about my journey with regards to even just, kind of what I shared again about my quote. I feel like that definitely relates to my childhood journey as I got older and kind of throughout that time period and what I was dealing with. And that really, when I heard that, I'm like, that resonates with me because it's so true. Yeah.
Wow, that is so powerful. Going to, and this is the thing, as you were speaking, one of the things that were just coming in my head, and I hope maybe some of you listeners are picking on this, that you could see that you were kind of a healthy person, but but you went through burnout, so this is the thing of, as women, as mothers, we are, whether you're married, single, or, whatever path in your life, is that we are doing things thinking that, yes, we're doing healthy stuff. But sometimes it's like we are missing some of the other parts, and it's later catch up with us and drag us down. And this is what I see in your story, I mean, doing all this, you are always active, exercising. I mean, the kind of activities you were, skates thing you were doing. and many other stuff. You're a health coach, but again, there are some things that are not resolved.
Yep. Yeah,
And
exactly.
this is something we have to look into, and this is where we love integrative medicine and holistic medicine, because you are looking at all parts. We are not just focusing on one area. And this is one thing I have said too, and many of you probably have seen this quote that says, you can eat all the kale you want, but if your mental health is not in order,
It's true.
it
True
will still
story.
be in the same area. Because for you, I believe you probably were eating healthy foods, watching.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
always. Well, and it's it's amazing too, and again, I realize this more now as I'm,
Mm.
as I age and think back on things, is nursing myself back through that burnout it was an important learning lesson for me, right? It was a
Mhm.
really big time in my life to kind of grow up per se, right? To
Yeah.
know that I can't fight everything mentally all the time. I've got to let some of that stuff go. And I also have to support myself in the way that I should support myself.
Mm.
And that's really where my journey into kettlebells came from,
Mm.
because I do really kind of need that mental drive, but I need to channel it. Now I'm smarter about it, right? Because it does affect me on a day-to-day basis, but I need to channel it into something that's healthy for me.
Mm.
And so that was kind of one of the biggest things, is when I was going through that burnout, I actually kind of healed myself. And again, lots of protocols involved in good nutrition and the whole, sleep
Yeah,
and
of
everything else.
course.
But I changed my exercise habits.
Mm.
And I really started focusing on powerlifting at the time, not super heavy weights, but heavy enough for me, right? And I worked with a strength coach to be able to do multifunctional movements like squats, deadlifts, bench press, things like that. And I really did that for a long time. And I also combined a lot of that with meditation. So even when I was done at the gym, right, I worked at an Olympic weightlifting gym, and when I was done at the gym, I'd have to sit on a box and take, my 40 or 50 deep breaths with my eyes closed, just to center myself, to be able to appreciate what my body had done for me, right, during that session. And then once I really started to feel that I was recovering well, that's when I kind of discovered kettlebells and brought those back into the mix. And then of course started competing. And that really resonated well with me. Kettlebells I found is an amazing challenge, but it was also enough where, you don't have to work out and I never worked out 6 days a week or anything like that, 3-4 days a week max. And even when I was competing, so went to the world championships 3 times, brought home medals each time, and I was only working out 3 or 4 days a week, but really targeted training, right, with a coach who was really knowledgeable. And I like kettlebell sport because it challenged me both physically but also mentally, and not necessarily mental drive per se, a little bit, but it's very technical. So I found that really interesting because, you really didn't feel like you were working out all that much, because you were thinking so much about the technique of how it felt and the movement you were doing. It really gave me a new appreciation just for exercise in general. And I think that's one of the things that drew me to it and kind of kept me interested as well.
Mm. The kettlebell. I'm like, I should explore it. Yeah.
It's fabulous.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't have any at home. I'll buy one and try and start getting into the videos and see. Because I know I've heard some people say that, but I'm like, is it? I don't know. For some reason, I just feel like, it's something as the weight. But now I'm just like, okay. To change more idea of how this thing works. But yeah, that's the thing about, stuff like this. Like for me too, I experienced something. I think I was kind of in that burnout state. My health, my gut health, everything was messed up and all that. And I really remember when the very first time I started with the functional medicine provider, and we started going through all these things in my life. And I found out that, I do exercise. I was working at that time. I had to be at work like 7 a.m. So I will do my exercise before I go to work, but I wasn't sleeping on time. So, and then
Yes,
she kind of saw that pattern and she's like, I'm sorry to tell you that you might need to stop the exercise for now. I know you think it's healthy. It's either you stop or you start doing it in the evening. Because I was doing it, as a mom, I was wanting to do it in the morning because nobody is awake to bother me. And I felt
of course.
in the morning it's not good. I mean, later in the day will not work, but it was actually causing more of my stress, my cortisol level, so and this is one of the things, I'm talking about doing healthy stuff, but in the wrong way,
Well, and that's the thing. And to be honest, I mean, even first off, yeah, sometimes depending on the person and the load they have, even with regards to what's happening inside, do we have a parasite or maybe we have bacteria or yeast, or that's a lot of stress on the body.
Oh, yeah.
And so putting more stress on the body, even though we want it to be eustress, it's not always, right?
Yes.
And so that really has to, and again, that's kind of that holistic picture of looking at all the aspects of lifestyle and the choices that are made to bring the best end result. And I know even for me, I have a coach for kettlebells, and even, kind of gearing up to worlds, many occasions, I would cut back my own training because I knew it was too much for me. Like, no, I'm not going to do that today. I've done enough. I feel good, but I know if I do that, I'm not going to feel good. It's going to push me too far. I would cut it off. I'm like, okay,
Yes.
done. Because I was because at this point now I was smart enough to listen to my body instead of pushing through all that to the other side of it. And then obviously, going through the same problem I already had once or twice. Right. So I think, listen, again, a lot of us, we get so much noise in our head and so many people saying what's good for us and all these things, but everybody's different.
Right.
And everybody's got different stresses at different points in time in their life. If you're going through a trauma, maybe going for a walk is better than hitting the gym and doing heavy training, right? Just because your body's already under so much stress.
That's right. You just hit the nail on the head. Yeah, that's, different things for different people, and we really have to focus listening. And your body will tell you, this is a thing I have had.
If you listen, they will tell you.
Yes.
Listen,
You
it is
know, this
there. It
is
is there. We just block it out and we go, nope, this is what it's going to be. No,
no,
just listen.
doesn't talk to me. I was like, is your body not talking to you, or are you not listening to it?
That's the not listening is usually, that's definitely been my downfall for a long, I've figured that out now. But yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of us that were in the same boat, I think.
And we get better more, when we have to, and sometimes we just have to, subtract some things in our lives to be able to hear that body speaking, or, feel that body speaking. Because sometimes we get so much busyness in our lives. I am personally been through that. I mean, I go on and off with that sometimes, and this is a good thing about over the time going through integrative medicine, and also, and this is something I tell my clients too, that yes, it's not that you're going to be perfect all the time, but the key thing I want you to understand here is that, and that is my goal too, and when they stop being my client, that when you go down, you are able to reset back and not keep going down. That is the thing about it, is that we want to be in that level where you have now known your body, you are now adjusting, making all these healthy choices, doing all this stuff, that even though you go to, switch or go off the wagon, they say, you are not really totally I don't know if what to be off that wagon. You can still get back as soon as possible, because it is life. Some things are unpredictable. We cannot, predict what can happen, but knowing that you can reset back. And so
there's always a place to start, right? Wherever you are, you can start there.
Yeah.
I think some people think that, and you there was something you said earlier, just about being perfect, right? Every day has to be perfect. And that's never true. Whose day is perfect? Mine isn't, right? Yeah. But it's about maybe 80% of the time we make good choices, right? We talked about the dark chocolate in moderation, right? And that kind of goes for everything. And you know what? If today is a bad day, then embrace tomorrow, because you have every chance for it to be better, or for you to make a different decision, right?
That's right.
It's a brand new slate. It's like a fresh whiteboard, right? For you to write that day's story on. That's what I think. Because I mean, every day you have the opportunity to do something that you didn't do today, or if today was, terrible, we all have bad days, tomorrow will be better.
Yeah, that's right. You have another day. As
Yeah.
long as you're breathing, there's life.
Exactly.
We can start again. So that was a bad day. I'm not going to be dragging it into bad month, bad year. We're going to change.
Well, and that I feel like sometimes too, when we're talking about integrative medicine, and to a certain extent, sometimes when you get down to nutrition, I mean, people are tracking things, and they're tracking sleep, and they're tracking nutrition, and tracking all these things. And that data is good sometimes, but sometimes it also, kind of, it's a lot. Right? It's just one more stress to kind of bring into our day. And so that's kind of something it's just a personal choice that I've never kind of brought into my world is data-driven, technology that I wear. I think it's all about how I feel.
Yes.
I gauge everything on that.
And that is the thing of knowing your body. I mean, some people, that's awesome. It helps them. And you might be feeling bad that, okay, my friend says she does this and she is doing so well. And then you do it and you see it's causing you more mental stress. It's like,
yeah, it's true.
Okay, that's not working for you. You don't need to keep forcing it. And this is what we see a lot about weight loss. Sometimes sometimes you are losing that weight and you keep stepping on that scale and you are seeing it like it's increasing, but you are losing weight. Maybe you are gaining muscle. And and when I hear clients say that, I say, look, let's trash that scale, put it in the bush for the moment. Okay, let's start tracking it with your clothes, see how your clothes is fitting. How are you even feeling? You're getting, those are some of the things you see. I personally, I'm going through that right now because, I'm doing some of these things. I'm gaining muscle and I'm, losing fat, and the scale, it's not moving. I'm like, okay, so I just, maybe check it. Don't check it every day. If somebody like me, if I check my weight every day, it doesn't really bother me. Not like that. But then you have to know, and yes, all these health tracking device, they are good. But again, for some people, it is not helpful for them. So this is something that one size does not fit all.
And I think that's what it comes down to. I think that's a really important factor, is that, and like you mentioned, some things will work for your neighbor or your best friend or whatever, and they might not work for you.
Yeah.
And that's because everybody's individual, and everybody's at a different place in life and have different stresses and just have different circumstances. And so all of those things have to be taken into account when you're trying to accomplish anything.
Yes.
Whether it's weight loss or, gaining muscle or eating better, whatever it is, it comes down to that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. So the next thing I want to ask you here, like, what would you say you are most proud as a woman today? I see all the medals in the back. I'm proud of that. Those of you that are listening on audio, she got all those medals behind her back. So, what would you say?
Yeah, and that was definitely a highlight, I would say, for sure. And being there the first time, that's when I brought home a gold. So what happens in kettlebell sport is you can compete in your own age group once you hit a certain age, so 35 plus. And you can also compete in the open age category. And the open age category, you can be any age. And so that was a big year for me in 2018, was when I won both my age category and the open age category. And in 2018, I was 45. So that was a big accomplishment for me, for sure. I don't know if that would be what I would most proud of. It was definitely a highlight for me because it just showed that the work that I had done, the growth that I had done in my life really paid off for me. And I did meet that goal, which was what I wanted to do. But I think for me, is just even building the business that I have now. And so because of the fact that we're all women, which is pretty amazing. And we're also building it from scratch. So it's not like, we're bringing in all the new systems and a different something that's never been done before, which is pretty amazing too.
Mm.
And it's interesting because, when something's never been done before, there's really no guide, right? It's about paving your own road, and figuring out what that looks like. And so we learn from our clients, we learn from the practitioners we work with, and so it's been a really amazing journey so far. And I think that's what I'm proud of. And when you look at your employees, even the subcontractors, I mean, they're all so dedicated and love what they do, and that really inspires me to be better and give more and just be present as much as possible.
That's awesome. Yes, I am proud of you. I mean, the first time I was introduced to the Vykon supplements, which is one of the things that Lisa does. I mean, I was like blown away. I was like, man, I was there like to know who's the founder. Like trying to understand that this lady. I mean, and it's true. This is something that I have not seen it anywhere else. I mean, of course, they have all customized supplements everywhere here and there, but doing this to balance your mineral, increase the compliance with clients. So, I mean, this is so big stuff to be proud of. I mean, I'm proud of you.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you.
Yeah. So that is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
that this
So
is Yeah, and this is the reason, I'm doing a podcast like this, bringing women to just share these stories. And I mean, because people are looking at you like, ooh, she up there. How did she probably has it good. Like, well, yeah, you have it good, but did you know what she has had to go through to get this? Because you even starting this company, I mean, you got bumps along the way. I mean, can you share a little bit some of the things here about that, like building this your supplement company?
yeah,
Mm.
and it's interesting too, because I've been in a franchise system for a number of years. And that's it definitely gave me a lot of good background just because of the fact that the systems were there, and you learn how to use the systems from an operational perspective. And that's really important, of course, in business.
Mm.
But for this one, kind of paving that road and not having those systems, there are definitely some challenges. And there's always the want to do more,
Mm.
right? There's always a question of something else that we could be doing, making our platform a little bit more integrated, or just different small little things like that, but they can be pretty large undertakings.
Mm.
And so working through things like that and being able to, I always find it really inspiring. I just literally spent a couple hours with my team brainstorming about all the different divisions, because Vykon has now multiple divisions, and an academy that we're launching as well in our system. So it's not just like one business, it's like six.
Yes.
So we have our whiteboard with our flow charts and our colors, and what are we going to do here, and where does this fall in, and what day are we, what date or what time of year are we looking to launch this, and is this going to be for 2024? And just being able to work with the group that we have and be able to brainstorm and kind of see even the rest of the year rollout is pretty amazing. And to be able to conquer some of those things together that we've never done before, that's
Yes.
pretty amazing too. And at the end of the day, it's I can't build a business by myself, right?
Mhm.
So I'm only as good as the team that I work with. And so that's why they're so important every day, to be able to give their input and be able to be part of all this, because ultimately without them we wouldn't exist.
That's right. I mean, I have known Vykons, I think since 2020. I mean, like
2020, yeah,
3 years.
April 1st, 2020 is when we launched.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't even, I thought you were there
Yep.
before. April 1st. Oh, okay. So I probably maybe end of that year. I didn't know. I thought you guys were already existing before 2020.
We were around, but not customs launched in April of 2020. So that
Okay.
was kind of the
Oh,
big, yeah.
wow. And to tell you, I've seen all the changes because I'm telling you, I follow up on all this stuff and I'm just seeing all the additional, the modifications and all, and this is the thing to tell you people listening, that if you have something to do, you can't keep on for years just ruminating and, of course you want to make right decisions, but at sometimes you just have to start and get going. And that is how you can, I think it's just because we're scared we're going to fail. Yeah. to be successful, you have to fail.
Always a
Yes.
concern. Always a
Always, I'm
concern.
telling you, if somebody tells you that, hey, I mean, maybe a few percentage of people start something and it just, but there is always that bump. It's not really that straightforward and just goes smoothly. There will be some tears, there'll be some
Yeah.
frustration, like I'm not doing this anymore. But
Yeah.
these are the things sometimes we use to pivot and say, you know what, I am just keep going and try stuff. Because if you did not start, you will not be doing business 2, business 3, business 4,
100%.
so.
Yeah, 100%. And owning a business isn't easy. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done. Because every day there's a new challenge or something that pops up, and all you can do is breathe, and it'll all work out, right? You just have to believe in that. And again, you make decisions and support your customers and do the best you can from that perspective.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what you can do. So what are some of the encouraging words you want to give us today before we round up this podcast?
Yeah. So, I mean, going back to my original quote, it's just like, if there's something that you want to do, I always find that as people age, right? I have friends who are in their 50s and some are in their late 40s. And one of the things, and I'm using a very loose term, so as we age, right? I will never say that I'm getting old, right? I hear that so many times from people, oh, I'm just getting older. No, you're not. Maybe you are from a chronological perspective.
Yes.
But there are so many things that, I mean, for me, okay, so yeah, I turned 50 and there are so many more things I want to accomplish, right? I want to be back at the World Championships next year. I want to set a world record. I want to bring home more gold medals for Canada, right? That's on my agenda. I want to expand the company and get into our pet and equine line, right? Like we've been testing for almost over 3 years now, actually. There's so many things. And again, just start. Hit the start button. It doesn't matter where you're at. It matters where you want to go. And if you have a clear vision, and for those of you who don't use visualization, I think that's something that you can read about. Visualization is something where you see very clearly your goal at hand. And so a really good example of that technique, I mean, a lot of Olympic athletes use visualization. A lot of teams practice that. And I definitely practice it with my athletes. And, even before the 2018 World Championships, when I was on the flight overseas, I was visualizing my lift from beginning to end, because ultimately what your mind tries to do is it tries to sabotage you. And there's a reason for that, because you need to work through it. So I always tell my athletes, if you visualize yourself, myself, I was doing my lift, right? And so I visualized the whole thing. And you can guarantee that if you do that 100 times, every time something's going to come up, that's a problem. But you've fixed it now in your mind, right? The problem has come up, you've moved through it, and then you get to the next one, another problem comes up, you move through that one. By the time you get on the platform, the lift's already over, right? And if something bad happens, guess what? You've already thought about it. So now you know how to fix it, right? So I feel like training your mind and having a goal, whatever that goal is, it doesn't matter what it is, it matters to you. It has to matter to you. Figure out what that is and go get it, go do it. Or, do whatever you need to do to be able to accomplish that, whether that is changing your nutritional habits, sleeping more, maybe your GI is a bit of a mess, then maybe getting some help for that, right? So that you can be healthy enough to be able to reach whatever goal that is. Because I think it's important for us to have goals. I think it's important for us to be healthy about them. And I think it's important for us to support our bodies so that we can do those things that we think about and that our mind really wants to do.
That is so good. Yep, you gotta go, but there is some things we gotta work on so that goal we can get to it. So the thing I think,
Yep.
Because you'll be like, wow, am I not getting there? Because there are some things. That's why we can't get there. And once you fix it, it's like boom. Ooh,
and think about how many athletes too just take they'll take a year or two off.
Mm-hmm.
You can only put your body through that stress so many times, and then they need time off, right?
Yes.
And during that recovery period, bodies are changing. Nutrition probably changed a bit, right? Exercise habits probably changed a lot. And so they've got a new starting point now, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not starting as an Olympic champion or world champion anymore.
Yeah.
They're starting a little lower than that. They got to work their way back up, but it's a start. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how can people connect with you, Lisa? I mean, is there any projects you're working on or any of that?
Yeah, I mean, projects right now, we're doing a lot with regards to specific marketing trials for Vykon supplements, a lot to do with animals as well. But we've got lots of opportunities, obviously, to connect with my team. You can visit my website; it's just my name, Pitel-Killah.com, and that kind of takes you to some different places that you can learn more about myself, about Vykon, if that interests you, and watch some just different webinars and videos that we've educated about as well, and be able to gain some more information if you're looking for health support, things like that. Then you may have an aha moment or see something there that resonates with you.
Yes. Yeah, your website is rich now. I mean, it is so different. I mean, what can happen in 3 years?
It is. It
Yes.
is for sure.
And yeah, okay. So yes, so you guys listening all this, I'm gonna have this in the description area. So you guys need to check it out, check the website, and that will lead you to all the things you need to know about Lisa, the business, the Vykon supplements, and so much more in there, education. So be it if you are a client, a patient, or a provider, this is going to be great for you guys to check that out. Yes. Well, I'm so thankful for you coming in today.
Thank you, Gabby. It's always nice to share, and I'm so happy and thankful that you invited me to be here with you and your listeners today.
All right. Yep. So happy you're here sharing all this great stuff. All right, people, this comes to the end of the podcast today of the Gaby U Show. And I'm going to end it with one of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou. She says, when you know better, you do better. All right, people, see you next time. Bye.